The fusion in Dragon Ball is an uncommon gift that many animes don't have, and it brings unimaginable power. Well, that we already know, and about its compatibility too. That's why we almost had a fusion between Goku and Gohan Goken, but that didn't happen. Then Vegito came up, but what if I told you that the next fusion in Dragon Ball Super will not be any of those, but none other than Son Goku and Broly, the Saiyan instinct with the Primal Saiyan. Ready for this grand moment? So subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave your like. We only got the taste of the father and son fusion, and we never knew how powerful it would have been. This fusion that would certainly be one of the closest to perfection in the Dragon Ball series. At least that's what we thought, until we saw Vegito and Gogeta, the perfect being from a fusion of Goku and Vegeta. This expanded to a disproportionate size that reached the heart of many Dragon Ball fans all around the world, especially when Gogeta came up. Regarding compatibility itself, Goku and Vegeta have nothing in common. But we know that this does not only apply to that, since Goku and Vegeta are like yin and yang, two different sides, but of the same coin. This intensifies a lot, and becomes clearer and more evident with Whi's current statements, where he places Goku and Vegeta on another level, saying that if they fought together it would be on the edge of perfection. One completes the other. Anyway, Goku and Gohan are very different. There would kind of be conflict if the fusion had actually happened. I have no doubt it would be incredible, but Gohan until a certain point didn't have that fighting spirit that his father and Vegeta possessed. This becomes clear at the end of the Cell Saga and during it, where he didn't seek to fight nor train. But this is not a solid base. Later in the video, I will put some differences in the fusion, and also about Trunks and Goten. But what if all this does not apply in practice, and only in theory, taking into account that fusion increases the Saiyan instinct in us individuals, Saiyans in this case? This is obvious. And then if that is the case, the fusion between Goku and Broly would also be incredible as a whole. Goku, as said by Vegeta, emphasized in the following way, quote, "The miserable one is a genius," end quote. So we know a lot about Goku's achievements and what he went through all these years to get where he got. And the fusion itself along with Broly would bring this experience from Goku's resume. So it would be like Broly had trained his whole life, which would accelerate even more the process of power increase itself, considering that Broly can also be considered a genius. Besides the berserker factor of the legendary Super Saiyan, he still has something inside him that assimilates things around him. He knows what he does. In the fight of Goku against Gohan, he brought the learning just by observing Gohan. Of course, Gohan is a beast now, and Broly, as said by Vegeta, is who most resembles and has the aura of a beast. Taking this into account, he learned from his equal. It would be as if he were facing himself in the future and brought it to the past. Here a reference to Trunks, past, present, and future. Anyway, he well assimilated what Gohan did and went there and applied it. Soon controlled his berserker form, just like Kale also managed to. But Broly went head-to-head with Gohan Beast. That is another power level. Gohan makes it clear. He, in his Super Saiyan form, let's say level 1, is greater than a common Super Saiyan, but we didn't have more continuation in this fight. So they would also be two geniuses. You can also say, Vegeta is also a genius. Of course, I totally agree, but here comes the fact, Broly has no battle history, and fusion would bring that. He would assimilate very fast. And there are also other factors. During the fusion of Goten and Trunks, they managed to transform into Super Saiyan. The intelligence factor of one completed the other. And this happened because Goku transformed only once in front of the kids. So surely Broly, when fused with Goku, would feel the divine power inside him. The Ultra Instinct, Super Saiyan God, and Blue. And Goku could also feel the primal factor that is in Broly. Two geniuses that upon feeling the power of one another, only a monster could come out of it. So we already have a cool point of this fusion. Another key point here is that Goku has a lot of potential, but he is stagnant. Maybe this form would be a turning key in this stagnation point, bringing an alternative path for him to evolve even more. Just thinking about it opens many less possibilities. But we have a counterpoint. Of course, Goku has many times risked his life trying things since Dragon Ball Z, when he uses Kaioken risking, and in Dragon Ball Super, he uses Super Saiyan Blue with Kaioken, and that almost cost him his life. So, unlike Trunks and Goten that when undoing the fusion it never showed that alone they could transform into Super Saiyan 3 form. Maybe they can, but we have no information about it. Goku and Broly could be different in this regard. Both absorb things very fast. Agree, guys? If you got here, comment with a name that fits this fusion of Goku and Broly Brokugaki. Remembering, don't forget to like. Okay, thanks, and let's continue. But since not everything is only made of hits, we might have conflicts here, considering that it would be easy for Goku and Broly to balance their ki. Saying it like that, everything would be fine, right? Wrong. They can indeed balance the ki and be compatible. But is Broly's mind really prepared for Goku's level? I think not yet. And maybe even Goku's mind isn't prepared for Broly's. This here can indeed become a bad turning point in this fusion. Then at least they couldn't use Ultra Instinct with all that fury, and they would have to seek something similar to Gohan's beast form, an alternative path, so their minds can stabilize. That was never a problem for Goku and Vegeta, since both love fights. And in my view, Broly also has that instinct, but he can lose control very easily, which would make this synchronization even harder. But with the right training, I believe this problem would be easily overcome. On the other hand, we don't exactly know how fusion works, but we have differences at least between Gogeta and Vegeto, as the very name suggests. Both inherited more the sides pulled by the name, Vegeto with Vegeta, and Gogeta with Goku. I'm not exactly sure what this evidence is or influences, but one thing is certain. Metamoru or Patera fusion, whichever it is, these two warriors, Goku and Broly, would enter a state that easily surpasses a god of destruction, even with this thin line between them. It would be the fusion with the greatest dominance on Goku's part, the one that would love fights the most, and wouldn't go against Broly's rapid evolution and adaptation. On the contrary, he would use it well since he never starts a fight going all out, except against Gohan, but that involves many more things. So, in the others, he first tests his opponent, and with Broly in the fusion, that would be of great help to Goku since he likes to go slowly and would adapt to everything in this fight. It would be kind of an all-or-nothing fight. With Broly in dominance, he could feel many things, for example, Goku's battles, and on top of that, learn a lot using this concept. It is true that Broly has not had many battles in the official Dragon Ball canon yet. His first big appearance in the official continuity was in the movie Dragon Ball Super, Broly, released in 2018, where he was completely reimagined by Akira Toriyama. In this movie, Broly has a single but extremely intense battle sequence that unfolds in several stages. First, he faces Vegeta in a brutal fight, then fights Goku, and finally faces their fusion, the powerful Gogeta. The fight against Gogeta marks the peak of his debut, and in it, he shows an absurd growth of power, going from an uncontrollable warrior to an almost unstoppable monster, even without mastering traditional transformations like Super Saiyan Blue or Ultra Instinct. Although it is only a movie, this confrontation was long and dynamic, and already showed how threatening Broly can be. Since then, he was seen again only briefly in the movie Dragon Ball Super, Superhero, where he appears training with Goku and Vegeta on Beerus planet, but does not participate in any real fight. This means that, so far, Broly has had only one real battle in canon, but it was one of the most impactful in the franchise. The expectation is that, with the return of the anime or in new manga sagas, he will get more screen time, get involved in important conflicts, and show development both in controlling his power and in his evolution as a character. He is still practically a rough diamond in the Dragon Ball universe, and many fans hope to see him in action again. This fusion would be a game changer anyway, but we know that there is not only one type of fusion in the Dragon Ball universe. Fusion is an advanced technique that allows two warriors to unite into one extremely powerful being. There are two main known forms: the Metamoru fusion, learned from the dancers of planet Metamoru, and the Patera fusion, which uses the magical earrings of the Kaioshins. Although both result in a new warrior with a combined power, and often multiplied, of the two participants, they are quite different in function, rules, and effects. Metamoru fusion requires the two fighters to be in absolute harmony, not only in energy level, but also in height, weight, and body stature. If there is a considerable difference between them, or if one of them is in a transformation that unbalances them compared to the other, the fusion can fail. This is clearly seen when Goten and Trunks mess up the dance and create a fat or skinny Gotenks. The fusion dance requires perfectly synchronized movements and exact choreography, as if the bodies were mirroring each other. Any timing, position, or energy mistake causes a defective fusion. When done correctly, the result is an extremely powerful warrior, like Gotenks, who managed to reach Super Saiyan 3 even though he was formed by two kids. However, this fusion has a limited time. It lasts only 30 minutes, and can end earlier if the fused body uses too much energy. After fusion ends, the two individuals return to normal and need to wait a while before trying again. Patera fusion works in a completely different way. Created by the Kaioshins, it does not depend on synchronicity, dance, or physical similarity. Each warrior just puts one of the magical Patera earrings on opposite ears. One on the left ear, the other on the right. When this is done, the fusion is instant and much more stable, resulting in a powerful and balanced warrior. The advantage of Patera is that it unites the two fighters regardless of power difference or physical appearance. That's how Vegeta and Goku fused into Vegeto, even being rivals with different power levels. Another example is Kibito and Supreme Kai, who had very different appearances and classes. For a long time, it was believed this fusion was permanent, but later it was discovered that for mortals, Patera fusion lasts 1 hour, and just like Metamoru, it can be shortened if the fused body uses too much power or suffers external interference, like the magical energy inside Majin Buu, which forced Vegeto's separation. Besides the technical differences, the fighting style and personality of the fused warrior also change depending on the type of fusion. Metamoru fusion usually creates a more extroverted character, like Gotenks, who is arrogant, creative, and loves to show off his powers. Patera tends to form a more balanced and focused fighter, like Vegeto or fused Zamasu, who unite the strategies and abilities of the two individuals in a more fluid and mature way. Another important detail is that in Metamoru, if fusion goes wrong, the warriors need to wait 30 minutes before trying again. With Patera earrings, if the fusion is successful, there is no defective fusion. But if one of the earrings is destroyed before the union, the fusion does not happen. Overall, Patera is seen as a divine technique, with fewer physical limitations and more practical in critical situations, while Metamoru requires training, synchronicity, and care, being more limited but still extremely useful. In summary, both fusions have their advantages and disadvantages, and their use depends on context, time available, and the type of enemy to face. Dragon Ball uses these techniques in decisive moments of the story, and each carries its own identity that marks the style of the involved characters. If it's for fast and planned battles, Metamoru shines with its versatility, but if it's a desperate and deadly confrontation, Patera is almost always the best option. Goku and Vegeta have already mastered both, and therefore can choose which fusion to use according to the situation, a detail that makes them even more formidable. Which of the two do you think would fit better for Goku and Broly? Comment a lot, and see you next time.